I'm Alexander Pezo, and this is Elevate Your Worth. Elevate Your Worth is an empowering podcast and YouTube show. I'll engage with individuals who have wholeheartedly pursued their passion, often against the odds, and have carved out their unique paths to success. Leveraging my diverse background in sports, corporate leadership, entrepreneurship, and design, I look forward to helping individuals tell their story that may never have been heard before. I'm Alexander Pezo. I got my main guy, Mike Smith, in the building. And our guest this morning is a good brother I had an opportunity to meet over a year ago now, Gardy.
Right. It's been some time.
At the G-Men Grind Nation function. And we just kind of, stayed in touch, man. And I knew you were doing real estate and me having a financial services background. I said, man, I got to get this brother on. My man, Gardy, the real estate CEO, also known as Gardy Saturne.
Appreciate you having me on.
Our main man, Brian David Walker, is, and yes, I went full government. He's going to go into a couple questions that he has for you. One, so we get a better idea as to a synopsis of what this talk today is going to be about this session. And then he always has that one in the pocket. So Brian, go ahead and take it over.
Gardy, for those that don't know who you are, tell us a little bit about your background, man, where you're from, where you went to school, where you grew up, all that for us, please.
Gotcha. So originally I'm from New York, and I moved down to Virginia about when I was like 17, and really got started with just learning about the area in Virginia, going to school over there. My passion was business at first, but I learned like my best learning style was hands-on. So once I figured out what I wanted to do at school, I kind of shifted towards like IT. That's where I got my IT background. That's where I started fixing computers, fixing hardware, removing viruses. That's kind of like the space that I come from. And some of the things that I saw was I was moving faster through my work career than I could actually finish school, And as you get kind of older, life hits you. You have life responsibilities, life commitments. And my son was born. And, I had to make a shift to be able to like continue to provide for my family, take care of my son, take care of the needs that I have. So I had to make a shift, work 2 jobs to be able to support my family. And slowly I kind of realized that, I was stuck in a specific lane with just like working, not having time for myself. So I figured, if I'm gonna make my shift into real estate, see my family do it, chase the financial freedom, really have the time that I wanted to spend with my son, I had to start really taking action towards real estate. That's kind of how I shifted away from IT and making the transition into real estate.
How did that change your life, brother? And how did that change your trajectory as far as your career, as far as your business style?
It really just forced me to have like a good foundation to really take ownership, just of my actions, things that I was doing every single day, and kind of just slow down and pay attention to like the things, that's more of a priority, just having finances, budgeting, and then you have a son and everything's unexpected. That kind of pushes you in a direction if you're ready or not. And then I had to learn to like embrace all of those things and then just kind of have an open mind, have an open heart, and take it and run with it.
Yeah, so it's ready or not, here we go, right? Ready or not, here we go. So
right.
Everyone has their biggest fear. What would you say about how to overcome a fear, and how did you overcome yours as far as transitioning from IT to real estate?
I think the biggest fear that I have was the confidence level in myself, to be honest. Because a lot of times, me personally, I believe, the information is out there, but the execution is not. And you could learn this stuff at a young age, you can make money at a young age, but having that confidence to say, this is what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to figure it out no matter what it's going to take. I didn't have that confidence in myself until I got later into my 20s. And that came from, just being around older men, joining the G-Man community, and really seeing that model before me that kind of grounded me with that confidence to be able to believe in myself a lot more and in the decisions that I make going forward.
All right, brother.
That was my biggest fear.
Nice. So you overcame that, and now you are where you are. Last question before I turn you over, Mr. Pezo, man. Where do you see yourself in 5 years in the real estate business?
Man, within 5 years, honestly, owning a lot of rental properties, making money passively through properties, and kind of just having the system set up in place where I don't actually have to like work in my business, but I could work on my business and still make money and spend time with my family.
My man, my man.
Great questions, man. Gardy, good stuff. So before the show, Mike and I, we did rock, paper, scissors, man, and he won. So he's up to bat with the first question. Mike, go ahead and kick it off, man.
What steps did you take to actually build that confidence? You know, when I first started, you know, my confidence came because I tried it, I screwed it up, I learned better, I lost a little money, but I felt like I bought myself a lesson. What happened in your situation?
In my situation was really just joining a community of other people who was actually just not necessarily even winning in real estate, but just winning in like life and business, you know, and personal stuff and business stuff. And then just seeing that model and being in that community to be able to kind of just soak the energy up, see other Black men be able to do business, you know, have good relationships with families and do life the right way. And once I saw that and I tapped into it, I started learning, you know, along the way. And then that's what kind of boosted my confidence a little bit more. And then once I started taking action and believing it and seeing the results, and I was like, all right, I know I got this. I see the example. I'm taking the action. I'm making the adjustments along the way, and I'm learning what I need to do to become better.
Okay.
That's good stuff. So Gardy, what would you deem was your first call to action in terms of real estate? You refer to yourself as the real estate CEO. Before you become the real estate CEO, you have to somewhat learn your craft, right? So
Right.
What was your first call to action for yourself, not with someone else, that you said, man, this is where I need to move the needle forward in order to ingratiate this whole real estate game?
Right. So the first thing is really just getting educated on all the avenues. I think there's three components to real estate. So there's wholesaling, which I focus on right now. There's buy and hold, and there's also flipping. And just really understanding how to look at deals, how to analyze them, and knowing how a real estate transaction can actually work from start to end. So now, as you're building it, whichever direction you're going to go into, you know how to analyze a deal, you know your exit strategies, you know how to review the numbers, and then you know when you have a good deal and when you don't have a good deal. So the first step is actually getting educated.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
So Gardy, tell me, how do you analyze your deal? What do? You take a pen and paper? You using some type of platform? You just going off of principal, interest, tax, and insurance, and what the market value is? Tell me a little bit about the due diligence you put into analyzing the deal.
Right. So there's one tool that I use right now. It's a tool called PropStream, and this allows me to see a lot of market information. It allows me to see the ARV of a property, how much it's worth when it's all fixed up, you know, when it's brand new to put on the market. It lets me see, you know, how many properties are being sold in that area, and also how much those properties are being purchased for cash. That's going to be the biggest thing, because once I'm able to see that information and I see where it's purchased for cash, then I know what I have to be able to get the property on the contract for, to be able to sell it to somebody else, to be able to make my money in between. And that's the process of wholesaling. So without that, I don't think I would be where I'm at right now, just because I'm able to have that information in front of me. And PropStream, you could pull it anywhere, you know, in the United States.
It's good stuff. So you brought up something interesting. You talked about being able to know what that ARV is, but let's go back a step. You know,
Okay.
anytime you assume a property, you know, you got your costs, you know, plus your rehab budget, then your ARV. And at the end of the day, that one thing we're all looking for, that check, the profit, right?
Right.
So when you're analyzing how you purchase a piece of property, what goes into that? You know, are you looking location? Are you buying in where there are better school districts? How do you go about making a purchase? Because there are multiple ways you can do it. You know, it used to be back in the day, let's get some Section 8 joints, get that check that's coming in and deal with the headache. Now we that's kind of old school. We've transitioned away from that to where now it's let's buy in a better location. But how does Gardy approach it, especially knowing you're up in Westchester, New York, you're not down in the boroughs, and the cost of property could be a little bit different?
Right. To be honest, what I look for is really the ARV, and also how much properties could actually like rent out for. And what I started noticing was where I was at in Westchester for what I wanted to do, the cost of everything was a lot higher. So just learning and paying attention to those areas, I started researching different areas throughout the United States where I could actually be able to enter the market a lot easier. So that's where I shifted a little bit towards Jersey to see where properties are being purchased at for like first time home buyers, paying attention to that ARV, and also paying attention to certain areas where people like to buy properties for like the Section 8, the long term to buy and hold. And that's where I started to really look for. So the biggest thing is ARV and how much properties can rent out for. That's the two things that I like to pay attention to the most.
Got you.
So is the wholesaling strategy the only strategy that you're executing right now, or do you actually buy and hold, or tell us about where you think you're going to go from the wholesaling strategy?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, right now wholesaling is the one that I execute the most, just because I'm able to build some capital. My next shift is going to be able to go into the buy and hold. I want to be able to make money passively, and then with like less work.
Okay. Some advice that that I've been given over time, I think kind of resonated with me when I started to build my circle of folks who can actually help me execute what my dream was. And it was, Mike, you're gonna get what you pay for. So when I was talking about telling this one person, a mentor of mine, Mark Richter, about how much time I was spending in managing the property and repair, he told me, he said, Mike, if you go somewhere else in a better neighborhood, you're gonna spend more, but you're gonna get better quality of a tenant. You're gonna get people that's willing to pay more, who are gonna typically be better educated, who's gonna value where they live a little better. What advice have you gotten, or what bit of advice did you get that kind of actually helped spark what you wanted to do?
The advice that I got was really marketing. That was the most important thing, because if you're not marketing, if you're not bringing any leads, there's no lead flow, there's no deal flow. So marketing for me, for wholesaling, is the most important thing, and staying on top of the budget for marketing.
Okay.
So you said if there's no lead flow, there's no deal flow, right?
Correct.
Well, let me ask you this question. What is your social media presence? And here's what I mean by that. Not necessarily just posting. What is your CTA on a continual basis of getting folks to know, one, who Gardy Saturne is, but more importantly, what it is you do?
Right. So actually just posting a little bit more about real estate, but actually educating people on it. So like, different strategies. There was something that I posted a few days ago, was talking about BRRRR investing and the BRRRR model, and how people, purchase properties, they rehab them. A lot of people who do buy and hold, they want to be able to like refinance the property out, pull the equity out, and then, roll over to the next deal. So on social media, I just like to post, some of the things that I learned, some of the advice that I received from other mentors, and then be able to just continue to educate people on what I'm doing.
Good stuff.
So Gardy, tell me about how you've been in your IT field. So were you, I saw at one time you were working at the Geek Squad. So were you working at the Geek Squad, repairing computers, thinking, man, I need to be, add some additional passive income, or real estate has always been my passion and I need to start that? Tell me how you started to make that transition and start to work into the real estate field.
Yeah, so my dad was in real estate, so I was able to see it through my dad, and the way that he got into the game was actually just working, saving his money, and building up his 401k, and being able to leverage his 401k, purchase another property. So as I started, building my career, I realized there's other ways to get in a lot earlier with less money. I do believe you do need to have money to get into real estate, but you don't need a whole lot. And once I saw that, I was like, I could actually get there a little bit faster with less money. And that's what kind of pushed me a little more to say, I don't have to do it this way. There's another way that I could actually get there. Let me focus in on that and learn that way first, because the way that my dad did it, I'm not saying it's a little bit outdated, but I am saying that there's another way to get there.
It's a great question. That's a great statement you just made. And we actually had a question in the chat that I want to get to from Brian David before I go forward. He says, I see your whiteboard in the back. How did you develop your workflow? That's a great question.
Yeah, you want me to answer that right now?
Yeah, go ahead and answer that. Then I'll ask you the question that I have. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think just with the whiteboard, it's able to like let me, I'm a visual person. So sometimes when I have an idea, I want to be able to write it down. I want to be able to see it, big. I want to be able to see it bolded. Sometimes I have to look at it, a few times throughout the day, or sometimes just wake up and see my board. And then it kind of just continues to like spark the idea. I learned that if I write it down on paper, doing it on paper helps me out, but I just feel like when I see it big, I feel like my mindset relates to like, yo, you have this big vision, you have this big grind that's in front of you, and I connect to that vision a lot more versus just writing it down for me on paper.
When you think about wholesaling, you think about, initially we were taught three different ways, and Mike, you can chime in as well. And now they've added a fourth. So it used to be driving for dollars, bandit signs, and leads, right? Well,
Right.
a way that's been added now that is the most prevalent and seems to be the most successful is social media and marketing. Because what the social media and marketing does, it not just creates leads from a wholesale perspective, it actually creates a following from an educational perspective of folks that you can now coach and teach and build a second side of your business. So kind of talk to us about what phase are you at? Are you driving for dollars? Are you doing bandit signs? You doing leads? Or are you doing that social media and marketing with the educational piece?
Yeah, I think what really helped me out a lot was I was actually doing a marketing text messages. That's what really got me the last deal that I had last month. I've done driving for dollars. I think, well, let me backtrack. When you're doing marketing, there's going to be a few ways that you could get your leads. It's either you're going to buy a list and then you're going to pay for that list, right? But somebody put that list together, and then by the time you receive that list, it could be 3 months old, 6 months old, 9 months old, whatever it is. Driving for dollars is good. It takes a little bit of time, but you actually get to see the property in the condition that it's in right now. And then that's the difference. So depending on, I guess, your budget and where you're at, if your budget is not as high, driving for dollars is perfect. Just because you're able to build that list. As far as to like answer your question, I think I'm still on the texting, cold calling side. The social media stuff is more just for like, posting exactly what I'm doing and being able to educate people. I don't think I'm using it as far as to like drive leads to be able to like find houses to sell. What I get in return by doing that on social media is people do see the brand. I'm able to build relationships with people. And then if they're in my market that they need help with, then I could be able to, connect that with the social media to be able to help people out and find cash buyers, things like that. That's what I'm getting when I post on social media.
Okay, so last question before we transition to Mike. I noticed in your background, you have three things that are key. You have a clock, you have a whiteboard, and you have your books.
Right.
Talk to us about how you do time blocking. It's a two-part question. Talk to us about how you time block your day. And then give us the top three books that you've read that are behind you.
Right. So what I started doing with time blocking was just tracking what I'm doing every single day, and then paying attention to what my top priorities need to be. So for me, I like, waking up in the morning, going to the gym, and reading. Those are like my first two things that I want to be able to do every single day before I do like any business stuff or any phone calls or anything like that. I want to be able to get my mind right first by reading and being able to go to the gym. So, and then just tracking those things, that's what I learned. And then for time blocking, I learned that my biggest time has to be in marketing. Like I said, if there's no lead flow, there's no deal flow. So that's going to be the most important thing. As far as like the books that I read, behind me, I have a book called Traction. That's one book that really taught me to have measurements in place, right? Be able to track KPIs. Also, being able to
Hold on, let me slow you down right there, Gardy, because I want to make sure, I don't want to assume everybody knows KPIs, key performance indicators.
indicators, correct.
Okay.
Right. So, and learning what those key performance indicators are in my business. So, for example, if I'm doing cold calling, how much cold calling am I doing every single day? And then just be able to track that number for 30 days. How many text messages am I sending out? And be able to track that and compare that to how many deals I'm getting. Right. And that's what that book taught me.
To catch part 2 of this episode, subscribe and like the Elevate Your Worth podcast channel. You can also tune in on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.